Alright, so first of all, I just want to thank all of you for being here. It's very much appreciated. I know it's been kind of a rough week. So this workshop is going to be about time management. So we'll go ahead and start off with a little intro. So my name is Suzanne Atia, although I do prefer to go by Susie. I am currently a junior and I'm studying psychology with a Bachelor's of Science in my minor is in biological sciences. What I really love about this path is how our mental health can influence our physical health. And it is things like time management that go into our mental health and, believe it or not, can affect our physical health. So currently, I am an undergraduate assistant for the UGLC, the Learning Environments Department, and I am also an undergraduate research assistant for UTEP yesshecan. So generally, time management is seen as the art of designing certain activities towards certain hours throughout the day. So this pertains to the priorities that we each have. And we all have different priorities. So this really does depend on each individual. So it's important to remember that everyone really does have a different style of managing their time. We all have different priorities, like I said. So a mother who's also a student and maybe a doctor may have different priorities than someone else who may be a teacher, who is currently in college. We all kind of have our own things going on. So the 111 rule is something that you will see a lot if you do attend cognitive therapy. This rule consists of designating time for one easy activity, one medium activity, and one difficult activity. So again, this does depend on everyone's social battery. This depends on how tired you get from each activity. So for instance, one easy activity could be watering plants, one medium activity could be reading a book, and maybe one hard activity could be exercising or finishing a project. And this depends on the individual. So what could be easy for one person, watering plants, could be something very difficult for one person, while it could be very easy and enjoyable for another. So we'll go ahead and keep the 111 rule in mind as we go throughout this presentation. So the most common method to organize someone, at least from what we usually see, this is even in school, college, and sometimes even in the workplace, is a planner. And I know that not all of us use planners. Sometimes it's not very appealing. I've heard that, it's just kind of like a waste of time for some people, or they don't really see the point in it. However, when used correctly, a planner can become a tool that does the mental work for us, so keeping those tabs open for us. So a basic planner will come with just a calendar and just a weekly space to keep up with your tasks. So again, this really is what works for you and for the individual. We all have our own different batteries. So whether it is a planner or just a sticky note that you like to, stick on your computer, or even the art of bullet journaling, which I know was or is still popular for a lot of people, it really is what is enjoyable for you, and managing your own time could really be a better journey towards, a more manageable life. So we're going to talk a little bit about organization methods. So of course we do have a calendar. Usually with a calendar, at least I have found that the correct way to use a calendar is by only listing important dates. So just your deadlines, maybe birthdays or meetings that you have. A lot of the times, at least in the student perspective, people will list absolutely every single assignment that they have on a calendar. And that really does put the brain on an overload, and can sometimes lead to just not being very motivating. And for that, we also have a weekly agenda. So usually on a weekly agenda is where we would put all of those assignments, right? So like I said, calendar is usually for important deadlines, birthdays, meetings, stuff that really pops out throughout the month. Whereas our weekly agenda is where we can set those goals. And again, we do keep our 111 rule into account when it comes to that. Really big thing when it comes to organizing your time on a agenda that is tangible. We have to understand our own mental boundaries and how far we're willing to work. So when you're developing this 111 rule, developing your easy, medium, and hard activities, it's good to take into account what you really enjoy doing versus what you don't enjoy doing. So one really awesome tool, if you guys have not discovered it already, is the Google Calendar app. So I had discovered this app when quarantine started out, and it was honestly a lifesaver. So once our calendar is created, this would be through using your Google account. All you would have to do is open the Google Calendar. Then it's going to show you a button where it says Other Calendars. You click on that, and this will create your new calendar. You get to name your calendar, and you get to put a description of your calendar. Once you create it, you're able to share it with different people if necessary. What's great about this is that you can have different calendars for different occasions. So if you don't want everything piled up together, you're able to separate it into a more simple and manageable space. However, there is a video that I did include right after. This is just an example of what it looks like. So this is my personal calendar, and I decided to put everything together. However, you're able to mix and match whatever's to your liking. So we'll go ahead and watch this short video on how to create a Google Calendar in case it wasn't explained thoroughly.
Hey everyone, I'm Max Dalton, and in this video I'll show you how to create a new Google Calendar. Google Calendar is a powerful tool for keeping your busy life in order. However, if you need to keep some events separate, for example, if you want to maintain a family calendar separate from your personal calendar, you can do so by creating a new Google Calendar in your account. The only catch is that you can't create a new Google Calendar in any of the Google Calendar mobile apps, and you have to use the Google Calendar website. Now let's walk through the steps to create a new Google Calendar. Step 1. Open a web browser and navigate to calendar.google.com. You'll land on your Google Calendar home screen. Step 2. Click the plus icon next to Other Calendars on the left side of the screen. A menu appears. Step 3. Choose Create New Calendar in the menu. The settings screen is displayed, with the Create New Calendar under Add Calendar chosen by default. Step 4. Enter the name, description, and time zone for your new calendar in the Create New Calendar section on the right side of the screen. Click Create Calendar after setting these options. You'll return to your Google Calendar home screen, where you'll now see your newly created calendar listed beneath My Calendars. You can see events you have associated with this calendar by clicking to place a check mark in the box next to this calendar. Let me know what your favorite calendar app is in the comments below. If you liked what you saw here, click the video link on the right side of the screen to check out another video. Or click the logo on the left side of the screen to subscribe to this channel to see more great videos like this one.
Alrighty, so I do hope that the audio was good, and he kept it pretty short and sweet, and it's a very easy method to organize ourselves a little better. So just like the video mentioned, this calendar is able to be on our smartphones, and these are the different formats that it looks like. So you could look at it whether it's in a calendar form or a schedule form, half and half, or even just if you wanted to see what your month looked like overall, or even just a daily schedule. So super great tool for organizing our time. So One thing when it comes to time management is our boundaries. So in the first couple slides, we did discuss mental boundaries and what we find enjoyable and what we don't find enjoyable. However, sometimes the things that we do find enjoyable aren't always the habits that we want to acquire. So social media is a really huge example when it comes to this. A lot of the times, I don't know about you guys, but I have found myself scrolling on social media like crazy. And I've had to develop that self-control in order to get things done and be more productive. So above all, time management really is about setting boundaries. And it's important to just be honest with ourselves about the good and bad habits that we do have. So whether your time is wasted on social media or even in a productive activity like reading or exercising or maybe another great hobby, sometimes spending too much time on that hobby may not be the best for your homework or your workplace projects and whatnot. So it's about having those self boundaries, and it's not only with ourselves. Of course, this does pertain to the other. So setting boundaries with others can be a little more difficult than setting boundaries with ourselves, and it may be challenging at first. But when we communicate effectively to our other, that being friends or family, or even coworkers, acquaintances that may want to hang out or have a meeting, that kind of thing. An example of this would be telling a friend that you don't necessarily want to hang out because you don't have the mental battery to do so. So this is completely valid to do. However, sometimes even if it isn't about having a mental battery, setting boundaries and saying that you have another priority to meet is another thing that we could practice. And the more we put this into practice, the better it is for others to understand. Really big thing on time management is creating a routine. So there is a quote, I think it pertains to exercising and, the whole fitness world. It kind of goes along the lines of don't make excuses to not go to the gym, make excuses to go to the gym. And that kind of fits in line with the 111 rule that we did discuss earlier. So the 111 rule allows us to work around a hobby. For example, making time to exercise or read or make time for those habits that we discussed earlier would enable us to work around a certain time frame. For example, let's say we really wanted to go to the gym at 3 p.m. That would mean that an assignment would have to be finished before then or after. But creating a routine allows us to work around one solid thing that we have going on every day, and it does provide more consistency. About to take a look at the chat. So, of course, Sarah. So she says, very true. I like how we redefine what boundaries can be. A lot of the times we think that boundaries are about what we don't like, but it's also being real about what tasks we do need to complete. And with that, she does have a question. So she says, how would you approach a situation where someone isn't understanding that you have to cancel something or not attend something because you have work, homework, family stuff, or etc.? That's a really good question, Sarah. So usually, if we are communicating effectively, that will most likely not be the outcome. But of course, we do have situations where someone is not understanding despite us really trying our best to communicate in the best way we can. My advice for that would be to simply prioritize what we need to get done and definitely assess it later and try to fix the situation after you've assessed your priority. So you can't necessarily, for instance, put work off or an assignment off because another individual is not understanding of your priorities. And like I said, it can be challenging, and a lot of the times people may not understand at first, but the more that we put that into practice, the better equipped we are to set those boundaries. Did anyone else have any other questions? or maybe even some comments, you're welcome to unmute, or if you wanted to, you could use the chat. Alrighty, so with that being said, that pretty much just conclude the workshop. It was pretty short, but we went over a few ideas that were pretty good to keep as a tool. With that, I'd like to just share a little bit of information. So like I said earlier, I do work with learning environments as well as UTEP yesshecan, and I put down their Facebook as well as their Instagram if you wanted to contact them. It's a lot of community engagement among both departments. So with that being said, that pretty much concludes our presentation for today.
Thank you so much, Susie. I think I'm gonna try Google Calendar. It like looks nice, like it's aesthetically pleasing. And I mean, I've been using my Gmail a lot more lately, so I think I'm gonna try that. I didn't know that you could have like different calendars for different things on that, so I think I'm gonna explore that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Sarah. It's super cool. I mean, you can also, I think you can color customize everything, and then you can list like different calendars, and you can select all of them to show at the same time. Really great to play around with. I would definitely recommend it.
Susie, I have a question about how do you handle, I think students do get a lot of email, and I'm just wondering how you handle that. I know that's not part of the, well, maybe it is part of managing your time, but how do you all do that? Or how do you do it specifically?
Right. Hi, Diane. Well, that is an awesome question. We actually discussed this in one of our RA meetings the other day, how to send an email and what exactly like makes it easy to send an email. And we noticed that always creating an email with a subject for sure, as well as, you know, being well written, not too long, not too short. That's what I've noticed that really helps professors read my emails quickly and get back to me as soon as they can. I also personally clean out my inbox every day, as crazy as that sounds. So any unnecessary emails, I kind of just wipe it out as soon as I get it. If I see that it's not very useful to me, you know, then I'll just delete it as soon as I can. But I do know individuals that have, I'm not even exaggerating, like more than 24,000 emails in their inbox, and you know, it happens. So that's how I handle my email situation. I do have it downloaded on my phone since I always have my phone on me. I immediately get them, you know. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to share how they handle their whole email switch, since, you know, that's a lot more frequent nowadays.
I would. I don't clean out my inbox ever. However, what I do use a lot in email, especially the Outlook email, is to pin emails. So if I like you, Susie, I have my emails on my phone, so I have the habit of always checking my email. And if there's something that I see that I can't do immediately or I need to look at later, you know, I'll open up my laptop and pin the email, so that way every single time that I get into my Outlook account, it'll be right there and I'll be able to see it. Because for me, I have to see things. If not, I will forget about them.
So to pin, you have to actually go and use the Outlook email app itself, right? It can't be through UTEP's email, because I can't see that feature to pin.
It's like when I get in my browser on my laptop, there's like a little pin. So you know how sometimes you could flag stuff, or you could mark it as read or things like that, you could do the same. I don't know if you can pin in your like phone. Yeah, no, it has to be through not the app, but just on your browser when you get into email.
Okay.
I assume it's the same for those of you with .edu, like UTEP.edu, but at least on the student side, it has a pin on there where you could pin it to the top of your email stuff.
I'm gonna look for that. Thank you, Sarah.
For sure.
On the student email, it looks like a little push pin, but I've never seen it on the web mail. I still can't check mine, and I don't have mine on the phone, but I'm pretty sure we can do that same feature, Diane.
So I had put it in the chat, but I was wondering, I can't really remember exactly how to do it. I was wondering, Carla, would you be able to share the tip about scheduling emails?
Oh yeah, I love to send scheduled emails. I compared to you guys, I don't like to have my email on my phone. And even then, I rarely check my phone. I always have it lying around somewhere else. But if I happen to be working past 5 o'clock or early in the morning, you know, you don't want to send an email like at 5 a.m. I like to schedule them for later. And right next to the send button, at least in Outlook for students, there is an arrow and you can just click on send later. And there you can choose if you want to send it like March 30th at a certain time or whatever. And I just like to do this even for reminders when I know that I'm going to have to send links on a Friday or something. I just get all of those things out of the way on Monday, and then they're all programmed to be sent later. I can't remember how to do it on the other one, but on the student one, for sure, it's that arrow. I think it was a little bit more complicated on the at UTEP email. But yeah, I know Kaylee says I think she uses it as well. And oh no, it's the best thing ever. I love it.
Thanks, Carla. Yeah, and it definitely does align, with the whole theme that we got going on today. I feel like a lot of the times time management really is about being considerate of others also. If we're kind of working within our own time frame, that doesn't really leave space for others to get back to us, especially if we do work in a very community engaging environment. So definitely super helpful. Thank you.
Susie, have there been any applications or other things that you've liked for time management besides the Google Calendar?
Well, not necessarily applications. I will say the planner that I have is super helpful. It's actually the one that Diane had generously given us a few months back. But I really love the space that it gives. I believe the brand was, give me 1 second. Yeah, I forgot what the brand was. Oh yes, I think it's by Morgan Harper Nicholas. So that planner is really great. It does give a space for the beginning of the month. So at a glance, it has to-dos for the month, goals for the month, birthdays, anniversaries, that kind of thing, which is exactly what we noted in the beginning of the presentation, right? So we only really want to include kind of things that really do pop out throughout the month in the calendar. And then it gives like a space for notes as well as an agenda. So that's where I like to apply the 111 rule. And as far as other applications are concerned, I'm trying to think of other things that I like. I do appreciate for those that do use iOS or even on Android, I'm sure you can download it, but just the reminders app is super helpful. The way I use it is I have it separated. So I am an undergrad assistant for learning environments as well as yesshecan, right? So I have a tab for UTEP classes, yesshecan, as well as learning environments. And then I have another one for personal things. So I've noticed that if I were to sort of combine everything into one section, it doesn't really, I guess as a person, it kind of mixes my mental space up. So humans, psychologically, we are known to categorize. If you show someone a group of a collection of random things, it could be a bunch of random objects or numbers or symbols, because our brain works a certain way, we will categorize things no matter what. We will categorize it by what makes sense to us. So using a categorization method, whether it be in an app or written down in different colored sticky notes, or just kind of having your own organized chaos going on, is super helpful. But yeah, just to answer your question, I think maybe just the planner that I mentioned, along with the reminders app. If we're getting specific, I do enjoy like making albums in my photos app to like categorize where I can find what. So yeah. Also, I don't know why I haven't mentioned this. I believe Kaylee is the only other person that I know that has this. But I've been using a spreadsheet lately for all of my classes. And so it's basically, it's an Excel sheet. However, it's Google Sheets, right? It's not Excel on Microsoft. And so I have all my assignments placed by the due date, my class name, the assignment type, and whether or not it is completed. And I found that throughout quarantine, or just not being in person, it's honestly helped a lot, just because I don't necessarily have to refer back to each of my syllabi to see what assignments I do. I just go to the sheet and then I mark it whether it's yes or no to see if I have completed it or not. And it's honestly been a lifesaver, because it's very difficult to remember everything,
No, it makes sense. I also really like to use my planner, my agenda, and the reminders on the phone. But I'm also like a huge I use sticky notes a lot on my computer. I just have like the sticky note like app always open. So I just have them on my desktop so that I don't forget.
Yeah, it's also kind of rewarding, it kind of feels like when you scratch something off of a list once you delete that sticky note, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cool to see it empty. But
yes, it is.
They come in handy for a lot of things in general. If I'm looking for somewhere to just type something really quick, I have like emails and things that I need to like remember. Because sometimes you'll be in a meeting and they just tell you like, oh yeah, my email is kaayala@utep, and then it's on Zoom, and then the Zoom meeting ends. So like, if they put it on the chat, you won't get it. So I just copy paste everything there quick, and it saves me a lot of time.
I've noticed that pretty much almost everything is just being digitized at this point. And I feel kind of silly for still having a planner. But there's something about writing things out that just helps me remember it better. I'm pretty sure that's like a like a muscle memory thing. But definitely, I'm noticing that our space is quickly becoming more electronic, which in a way it's better, at least environmentally speaking.
No, I feel you. Now that everything went down on the emails, a lot of people didn't know when their meetings were, but I have all of my meetings written in the calendar. I don't know why I write the meetings or like the meeting passwords and stuff. So I was at least able to, keep like nothing happened on that side.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I felt with the spreadsheet that I got. It's like writing all the information down beforehand really served its purpose, because we kind of saw how dependent we are on technology nowadays, and nonetheless in a pandemic, right? Definitely super useful. I would definitely recommend having everything on a Google Calendar, just like you have on your, like you writing down all your meetings. I noticed that some students even saved like the Zoom links because some of them are consistent. Right, so some people save the Zoom links to their classes in like the same folder as like their textbook and that kind of thing. And honestly, really, categorizing really does put the human mind at peace.
I'm so glad that Teams did not go down with everything else, because I've been trying to not have so many documents, at least like work-related documents on my laptop. And so I've been, putting a lot of things on Teams, and I'm like, oh, it'll stay there. But like, what happens if Teams goes down, So thankfully it didn't, but wow. If it did, I mean, that's where all of the meeting passwords and all of that stuff is. So yeah, I'm glad it didn't go down.
Yeah, I was also thankful for that.
Yeah.
Just tells me how dependent I am on technology.
It's kind of a weird thing, because in my head I'm thinking, well, and Susie, I think you were talking about this, like it could be a good thing in some way that we're using technology, so less paper and less blah blah blah. But something I've had in my mind for a long time is like, even if we use less paper, we are still using energy. And I think at that point it just becomes like a whole conundrum of like, if you don't do this, if you do that. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation for sure.
I completely feel you on that, Sarah. It really does feel like a huge conundrum. It's like once you do one thing, it leads to another. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know if only saving paper is the only thing we have to do. It's so much deeper than that.
Definitely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, although I will say one thing that I have found is pretty cool, and I remember this from the project that you made not too long ago, Sarah, is just not using water bottles and kind of using like having an actual like water bottle that you can carry around is a lot better. At least that's what I've gathered.
Oh yeah, I mean, I carry around a water bottle now, and it's been that way for, I don't know, X amount of years. But really what inspired me was seeing everybody in Gaia with their water bottles, and I was just like, man, they're doing a great job. I want a water bottle too. So I finally like invested in one that I really liked, and it's really because of everybody in Gaia that I carry a water bottle. They inspired me.
I never noticed that, Sarah. You are so right. Everybody there has a water bottle. I never noticed that ever. That's so true, Sarah. Yeah, I can't really recall like a plastic water bottle in Gaia, which is honestly, it's great now. With the aquaponic project that's going on in Gaia.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that project.
Definitely. So as far as time management is concerned, I was wondering if any of you wanted to share the types of tips or anything new that you've learned since quarantine about time management.
Something that me and Mia were talking about in the comments here is that I was saying I approach my days like a timeline. So I don't really separate, like with different calendars or anything. I separate, I guess, by day. And again, you've heard me say this over and over, but I have alarms for things. But I don't know that it would be beneficial for me to have separate calendars, but I think I'm gonna try it because it seems a lot more organized. But yeah, I view my day as a timeline versus like categorize it, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I do that similar-ish. But my days are separated. So if I have more yesshecan on one day, then I try to do another day of like honey badgers and so on. I don't like to be switching my brain between like LE, HB, yesshecan, and then like, because then I'll be saying like, oh yeah, I had a meeting of this and this and this happened, right? And I'll be like, wait, no, that was for something else, not for that. So if I just focus, like for example, Mondays is where we have a lot of learning environments. I've been doing, Mondays are dedicated for that, for the work that I have to do for that. And then Tuesdays, yesshecan, and so on. And I think that helps just so that I don't mix the dates or the reminders. But obviously, you can't have like a full day of one thing. Things might spill over between days. But I think having a separate calendar could help you in that regards, at least. What I have in my phone is that the calendars are color coordinated. So I just see purple, and I know that it's yesshecan. I see blue, learning environments. I see yellow, it's honey badgers. So it's a little bit easier to think than having to remember what each thing was about. So it might be helpful if you're switching between grad school and then the department, Sarah.
Something that's been really, really helpful is honestly, like all of those meeting notes that you guys do. That's super helpful, especially if like someone's not able to go to the meeting. It's so easy to go, and see what happened in that meeting. So I think time management also happens, I guess, collectively when things are really organized, like when there's a structure of things within something, it kind of just helps the whole team.
Definitely. Another thing I also want to add about time management is, so this kind of goes along the lines of the, the priorities that we were talking about. I also feel, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one who may struggle with this, but I found that usually, let's say I just have like a, we'll have like a work day, right? So I'm also a sales representative. So if I have a day where I'm working a 7-hour shift, right? And I work the 7-hour shift, I kind of feel like my day went to waste. And I only feel that in regard to being a student. However, sometimes I create a student as my only identity, I've noticed that in my planner, when I write down what I got to do that day, it's kind of like I give myself credit for doing minuscule things, but they are very important. You know what I mean? So today I went on a walk to the park in the morning, and I counted that as one easy activity to contribute to the 111 rule. So I guess what my point is here is, as far as priorities are concerned, it's also important not to disregard the small things that we do, because sometimes I feel like we let our day go to quote unquote waste, when it isn't a waste, right? When we've been productive all day, however, not productive in the area that holds the most pressure. And in my case, that would be student, right? My role as a student, not my role as a daughter or a sister or whatever. So yeah, I definitely just want to put that out there, is that the activities that we do on a daily basis, as long as they contribute to who we are and what makes us, I definitely think that it's definitely worth giving yourselves credit for.